everybody. My name is Danielle Eliana Stone, and I'm the founder of Acceleration Dance and Fitness in Omaha, Nebraska. So today I am interviewing a very dear friend of mine and a great person. Her name is Rahil, and she is the founder of Raqs World Dance in Kansas City. Hi, Rahil. How are you today?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I am good. I am good. Thank you so much for taking the time to do a short interview with me today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And for guys watching at home, I chose to interview Rahil today because she is a full-time belly dance or rock sharky style belly dance instructor. And she's based out in, is it Kansas City or Shawnee? Or yeah, Kansas City area, metro area. And she's been teaching for many years. So I thought it might be interesting to talk with her just a little bit about what it is that she does and how she works through her day. And we'd like to get into a few things as pertaining to COVID-19, which has been a really big thing that's impacted a lot of performing artists. And just to give you a little more insight into what it's like to be a performing artist and instructor during this time. So, Rahil, I'd love for you to tell us maybe just a little bit about yourself. Maybe, for example, things such as tell us a little bit more about Raqs and how long you've been an instructor, just a few information, things like that.
Well, I've been belly dancing for 17 years, which sounds like a really long time. Feels like it too. And I've probably been teaching about 10 years regularly. And I opened up the studio. It will be 3 years ago, I think. And basically, I've always really enjoyed, I started out with the cabaret style, and it was just this generic cabaret amorphous thing that I learned, and then kind of started honing in on what really interested me as I learned more, and I've kind of focused more on Egyptian style and some folklore and things like that, and that's really what I like. But in general, I like belly dance of all kinds, but that's really my specialty, and I teach several classes a week, various levels and topics and things like that, and we have fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And guys at home too, Rahil is such a fun person and such a positive, upbeat person, but she's also very modest. Her school does really well. She's had people who have been with her for many years, even before she made the leap into having her own studio, which is really exciting. And, you know, congrats on that as well. So
Thank you.
yeah, so you mentioned that you started out doing more of what we call American cabaret style belly dance, and that you've gravitated more into the rock sharky Egyptian style belly dance. So I imagine I'll have a few folks who might watch this who aren't familiar with the different styles. Could you give us just a hint of a background about maybe what the difference is and what pulled you into the Egyptian style?
To me, the difference as a non Eastern dancer, I guess, as a Western dancer, the difference for me feels a lot about the music and the emotion that comes with the dancing. So the ballady and ballady progression really speaks to me because my own personality is kind of this, I don't want to say shy, but more inward. And so that style is more Egyptian, and that's what kind of draws me. Whereas the American cabaret style can be more of a production, and I'm less of a like drama person. It's hard because everybody puts on the act when they get on stage, but definitely my personality suits better with an Egyptian style.
Yeah.
So to me, that's the difference. And the music is a little different. And I've fallen in love with the accordion. So bless my husband for listening to accordion music all the time with me. And I really like the Egyptian style accordion. So music and feeling to me is the difference.
Yeah, that is such a great way of describing that. I like you, started out in more of what you consider an American cabaret style. And um, once I started delving more into, as we'll get into a moment, the culture and the history and all of these other factors that surround belly dance, you start to learn, oh, wow, it's more than just the moves or maybe this kind of Eastern sounding beat, and you start getting into, wow, there's all these really fascinating aspects of culture that yeah, just draw you in. And I love how you described the melody, because you're right. I find it fascinating that some of the dancers might be doing a complete improvisation. A lot of people at home may not know that the dancing in that style is, as Rahil says, very internal, very improvisational, but they're so familiar with the music and the progression that the music will go to and the movements that it just kind of comes out and draws the viewer in. So it's so great to see different styles and different approaches to this dance form.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, I did want to ask you, do you remember the first belly dancer you ever saw? And if so, could you tell us a little bit about that? I always find that really exciting.
I do. Of course, I don't actually know who this person is because, I'm sure similar to you, I started out before the YouTube sensation. I went to the Kansas City Renaissance Festival, and there were like, it wasn't, I wouldn't say belly dance in the way that I think of belly dance now, but there were dancers, and I was in college and brash and daring. And I was like, oh, I want to try that. And so when I got back home, I looked it up belly dance classes. And so it was just someone dancing at the Renaissance Festival. I have no idea who it was. And now, of course, I know a lot of the dancers that dance at the Ren Fest, but it wasn't any of them. So it was some mystery woman.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that's so fascinating. My first belly dancer was also at the Renaissance Fair. So, yeah, belly dancers out there in the world, if you dance at the Renaissance Fair, know that you are motivating and inspiring a lot of people. So, it's a great opportunity to really study different styles and become the best belly dancer you can be, because I
Absolutely.
also, yeah, was like, oh, what is this? And yeah, it opened up this whole world of all these other styles.
I really think Renfest is a great way for us to show belly dancing to the public because there's not as many ways. And so I think that's a great venue. And I think a lot of belly dancers are born that way. So
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think so too. It's amazing the variety and the versatility that we've come up with as belly dancers for places to perform or to show our art form and the different variations of it. So yeah, I agree. I think that's a great opportunity. So, well, I did want to ask you, because you are a belly dance teacher, and teaching does take a lot more work and planning and just so many, you wear so many hats when you're a teacher. I was wondering if you could talk to us a little bit. I love to kind of like pick people's brains about how you like to plan as a teacher. And I also, just to throw in as a little bonus kind of question, I know you were a school teacher at one point as well, and wondered if that experience plays into your teaching style.
I was going to say that my history and education definitely impacts how I teach. So my master's classes were on curriculum and instruction. And so it's all about forming curriculum, and really all of that carries over perfectly for belly dance. So we all, sometimes we don't think of it this way, or especially lots of times what students want or what a venue wants is kind of a fitness class or something like that. But I get really excited about making connections between ideas and looking at the history and why things are that way. I was a science teacher, so that whole like figuring things out and analysis is my cup of tea. So that really is what I like to do. And have been working on this big curriculum for my own classes. And in the education world, we call it scaffolding, which is basically you have a strong foundation, you teach all these fundamental ideas, and then through that information and with those tools, you can start leveling up, so to speak, and get into more specific styles or history or things like that. And I'm passionate about that. Teaching is what I love most probably about Bellydance. So I like using all that together.
Yeah, I love that. And can I just say, I've seen some of your notes before, and you just have the most gorgeous handwriting. It's so orderly, and I'm like, oh my goodness, like mine, I'm very like, I mean, I do have, I've started to type it, which, you know, that's a little better, but yeah.
I'm very, well, again, it's that teacher side where, when you're teaching high school students, if you don't have a plan for every single minute, you'll regret it. So I do that for dance class too. And I'm like, all right, every single thing that we're going to do, we're spending this long, and we have to do X, Y, and Z. And it actually really helps. Sometimes once I get to class, I don't need the notes at that point because I've gone through it enough on my own, but it helps keep things sharp, I guess.
Oh gosh, yeah. And your students are so lucky to have that scaffolding and to have that whole thing. I think sometimes people go into teaching maybe not knowing, and I know with time and with experience it gets better, but I think it's important for people to realize how much time and effort goes into it, and how fortunate you can be to study with an instructor who has a plan, you know, not just a plan for that lesson or maybe even a 4-week session, but something that maybe will accumulate into something else. And that was part of my main rationale for interviewing you, is just so that people could realize, you know, not only do you teach the classes, plan for the classes, do choreography, costume, seamstress, marketing. I mean, the list just goes and goes.
And somehow pay the bills.
Oh yeah, oh I forgot. Yeah, and then you have to pay the bills somehow as well. Yes, that is so important.
Yeah.
I know. Well, speaking about paying the bills, I did want to touch base a little bit with you. I know just going into the COVID-19 crisis and the pandemic and how we've been experiencing this for almost a year now, it's really impacted performing artists and teachers or fitness instructors, people who have to work directly with the public. But amazingly, you've not only come through, but you've gotten into a lot of other more exciting things, not more exciting, but you know, exciting things. You're thriving, you're trying out new things. Could you tell us a little bit about the innovations that you've come up with during the pandemic and moving forward into 2021, some of your new stuff coming up?
Well, I will say, first of all, I wouldn't say that I'm an eternal optimist, but I'm a big planner. And so for me, the like my coping mechanism when things are stressful is just to think, what can I be excited about? What's going to happen next? And I think sometimes that helps even with my students. So they get excited, and it kind of drives them to keep it up and keep going, even when maybe Zoom isn't the way that people prefer to learn. But there's the promise of something more sometimes, and I think that's nice. It's been a challenge. I don't consider myself technologically savvy.
None of us do.
I joke that now, because of COVID-19, I've become a sound person and my own tech person and all this stuff. And so I think that it's actually pretty great to have this online venue now. And for myself, I've taken with teachers from all over the country and even the world now because of Zoom, which is great. And I've taught some people from that, like other states that I wouldn't have taught before. So I'm trying to kind of, it's a lot of people have called it the pivot. And so you're just pivoting. It's like, okay, I can't do this. So now I'm going to pivot and do something else. Yeah, I think that online outlet is great. And I've been trying to use my planning ahead mind to come up with things that everyone will be excited about and kind of reevaluate my own approach to teaching and things like that. So in 2021, I'm going to start really working on this curriculum that I've come up with. So my plan, I have 3 levels of students, basically, and I want my level 1 students to have a certain amount of technique and folk background and a little bit of props. And then level 2 goes a little beyond that. We start doing some musicality and things. And then once you get up into that level 3, it's where you're ready to improvise and use some of those skills. So I think it's been great for me to have this to look forward to, and I hope my students are excited about it too.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, that sounds wonderful. Again, it's just such a nice, well-rounded education with adding in, of course, the folkloric component, which you do such a wonderful job with that in your research. And I think that's such an important part. And then adding in some of the terrifying things for beginner students like improvisation, but slowly working up into that. That is so exciting. I'm really excited to see how it goes for you in 2021. I know. Yes.
Yeah, I think I really enjoy, this will probably go into something that you're going to ask, but I really enjoy research, and some of that's because of my background in science and education. I have always enjoyed history and different cultures and things, and I think that it's the least that we can do as dancers, to do some research and educate ourselves about where this dance comes from. And as you said before, it's not just a combination of movements. So you can't just shimmy and say it's belly dancing. It has a background. And so
Yeah.
that's the least I can do to kind of pay it forward for my students and say, hey, there is a cultural element to this, and give some credit to the people I learned it from. So
Absolutely. I couldn't have put it better. I completely agree with you. And I think because there's so many different styles of belly dance, and belly dance has been extremely popular in different periods in America. And as Americans, we tend to want to make things our own and, and there's a wonderful element about being creative and identifying with it. But I think one of the bottom foundational things people need to understand is absolutely that it does come from other cultures, and cultures where maybe they're not as fortunate to be able to perform and do all of these cool things that we get to do. And so, yes, I'm so glad to hear that you take that time to research and continue your education, because as you and I've discussed on our own, you get into a belly dance class and you're learning your moves, and it's just this like you learn moves, but it almost is like it expands horizontally into where you can just keep learning. So there really is no end to some of the things that you can learn. So
absolutely. I
yes.
think of it kind of as though like I'm borrowing something very valuable, and when I return it, I don't want to have damaged it. I don't want to claim that it was my own all along. I'm just borrowing this dance, and I'm going to treat it with the utmost respect. That's my goal.
Absolutely. Yes, I love that. And thank you for addressing that so eloquently, because it's hard. It's hard, especially for people who maybe are newer or are in different styles and have never really given it much thought. They may not realize. And I know for myself, my first instructor did a lot to kind of introduce us to a few different styles, but I was by no means an expert. And yeah, and just with time, yeah. So absolutely. So that kind of brings me into, I was just thinking a bit about, let's say someone wants to try belly dance. They've never had it before, and maybe they're coming in for different reasons, whether that be they saw someone at the fair, at the Renaissance Fair, or they want to get exercise. What would you say to somebody new if they wanted to come and check out your classes?
Do it.
I know, right?
um, I think one of the most common things I hear from people, like my students, is, oh, I wish I would have found this 20 years ago or something like that. So there's no time like the present. And the great thing about belly dance is we get, as we're like teachers and you get more advanced, you start talking about things that are more philosophical. But when you first start out, it's just come have fun, meet people. We're all very supportive, and I really think that in general, everybody's just trying to do the best that they can, and we're all just acting out of I want to say like kindness. And when we know better, we do better. So like I have students who they dance for about a year and maybe they decide they want to do a solo and they worry about wearing the right costume or this or that. And sometimes it's like you just have to go and do it. And it's okay. Like we're all in this together. So I feel like for new people, it's just come and learn, and people will direct you to be better if that's what you want, in a friendly way. I think it's a very supportive group of people.
Yes, yes, I completely agree. And I appreciate you saying that, because I think especially when you're brand new, it's almost like a kid in a candy store. You get to be introduced to this wonderful environment and these fun movements, and with the right teacher and community, it's very supportive. And we're very supportive of different ages and sizes. Like you say, there's no time like the present. And as I mentioned at the very beginning, I've always admired you not only for your wonderful dancing and teaching, but how you're so supportive of other instructors and dancers in your community. Do you have any tips or feedback about that that you'd like to share with people, maybe other instructors or dancers, on being a good steward of your community?
Well, so
I know
here
it's a really hard topic.
I'm going to make an analogy here. So one of my backgrounds, one of my many hats that I've worn, so I used to be an environmental scientist and traveled around and worked in like ecology. And I've kind of thought about it in that the belly dance community is just like an ecological community. We all depend on each other, and the actions of one person can impact so much. And not just our own little group of students and other people taking classes, but it could your actions could impact someone across the world. There are all these options, and so by supporting each other, we're actually making it better for everyone. So we can think of it as kind of a competitive, so and so has more students or fewer students, or it gets more gigs. But really, when we promote ourselves and others, we're just elevating everyone. And it's great to just see other people thrive. And I'm really of the opinion, like, I'm not the expert at everything, and I don't expect to be, and I don't really want to be. I like what I like. And so if someone else is really good at something else, that's awesome. And I want them to feel good about that and to promote them. And if people go study that with them, even better. So I think that kind of positive reinforcement helps everyone.
I agree. I think an attitude of support and kind of this inclusivity where we each have something to offer or give, so there really is not the idea of competition. That when you have that mindset of support and of growth, that's really helpful to help grow your community. So, well, yeah, absolutely. Well, again, I know I've spoken before of your modesty, but could you tell us just a little bit about your event that you've had most years? I know with COVID it was slightly different, but Casey Raqs, because I've been before and it was awesome.
Yeah, I've had Casey Raqs about 4 years now. We'll have the 5th one in August.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Everything gets normal, we'll be back to that. And I like to just host a teacher that I enjoy or that I've taken from. And we have a weekend. It's kind of evolved. The first one was Saturday and Sunday, and now it's become Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, sometimes with a lecture component or something. And in 2021, we'll have Bojenka. Again, fingers crossed. So she'll be coming all the way from Crete to teach. And she's a really fantastic dancer who has great stage presence. her arm movements and just the way that she presents herself is very unique. And so the teachers that I bring, they're all my favorites about something. So it's kind of like we were saying before, everybody has their strengths. And so I like to pick out someone who I really like for a particular reason. And so we have a show and workshops, and it's a great time. I call it your friendly neighborhood belly dance workshop because we just have fun and it's pretty relaxed. Even if there were, I don't know, probably like 50 people last year participating, but it's a good time, and I'm always excited about it.
Oh yeah.
It's
I think, yeah, going back to the beginner student, but also for people who've been doing it many years, the workshops, these are like such a wonderful little nucleus of all the good things in belly dance. Not only do you get to learn in a concentrated setting with, like you say, these really awesome instructors who are, coming from across the globe, but there's shopping. There is shopping. So yes, you haven't lived until you see a table just loaded with all of these sparkling, glittering things. It's just, yeah, mind-boggling. And then of course there's the friendship and just the time spent with other dancers, which is so wonderful. So yeah.
I feel like they're so uplifting in general, like from the shows when everybody's cheering for you, but just the camaraderie of being together and maybe struggling through a technique or just sweating or whatever it is. It's so much fun to share that experience with other people. So
absolutely, it's really, in a lot of ways, at least in my opinion, like kind of why you do it is for that community, for that support, to just, I don't know, be inspired, I guess, so yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. So yeah, fingers crossed for 2021. And again, you were amazing. Like whenever you've had to, you've done stuff virtually, like you find a way. And so it's very innovative of you. So,
thank you.
yeah. Well, one last thing I just have for you, Rahil, and then I definitely, would open it up if you have any final thoughts. But for folks who maybe haven't seen you on social media or your website, what's the best way to find you online?
The best way.
The only. No, I know there's like 90 platforms now. So
I'm very active on Facebook. That's probably the best way to find things about me. I have my business page there. That's Middle Eastern Dance with Rahil. Mm-hmm. I also have a YouTube channel. I post those videos though on Facebook. So if you find me on Facebook, that's a way to find that. I also have a Patreon. I have a website. It's just casey-raqs.com. So anything. I'm on Instagram too, but I'm not on there as much. So
yeah.
If you can think of a way to search for it, you can find me.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, well, and I will definitely too, in the description of this video, I will definitely put a link to your website, or like you say, if you Google search Casey Raqs or Rahil, Kansas City, yeah, you can find that. And I would definitely encourage people to check out Rahil. She's got a beautiful site. I love her YouTube videos. I'm always trolling over her, beautiful costumes and these beautiful dances. So you're like, oh, so anyway, definitely check her out. So yeah, well, Rahil, do you have any last words about belly dance or what you do for moving into the new year?
Well, I will say, if you're not already a belly dancer, like we said before, now is the time. And for people who maybe already are, sometimes I need some motivation or some inspiration just to feel good. And I think that the great thing about belly dance is it's not cookie cutter, and we all do things a little differently, and we all bring something that's uniquely our own to belly dance, which is what makes it so wonderful and is why it speaks to probably millions of people around the world. So everyone has something to offer. So come belly dance with someone.
Yeah, yes, I think that is such a nice way to put it. I agree. Everyone has something to offer, and yeah, come check it out. It's a wonderful way to learn about different cultures and cultural art form to get exercise, make friends. I mean, there's just be creative artistically. So it's definitely a win-win situation. So thank you so much, Rahil, for joining
Thank
us today.
you.
And yeah, I wish you the very best moving forward with your classes.
Thank you so much.
Uh-huh. All right. See you later. Bye-bye.